MMA boxing talk here. Marcy coming at you with another video. In this video, I want to talk about the upcoming bantamweight title fight between TJ Dillashaw and Dominick Cruz. It's this Sunday, January 17th, in Boston at the TD Garden. So in this video, I'm going to break it down into three different parts. First part, I'm going to analyze both fighters' skills. In the second part, I'm going to analyze and compare both fighters' resumes. And in the third part, I'm going to make my own prediction on the fight and who will win, of course. That's what a prediction is. Now, starting off, I'm going to analyze both fighters' skills. So TJ Dillashaw is a great fighter. He uses a lot of movement in the octagon. Has really good footwork, and he switches his stance quite a bit throughout the fight. You know, from southpaw to conventional, he's constantly switching his stances. Feints quite a bit as well, and does a lot of level changes during the fight, which will just make it tougher on his opponent to read him and what he's going to do and what he's going to do next with all the feints and level changes and, you know, switching of stances, of course. He has very good head kicks. And he's very good at disguising his head kicks. A lot of times he'll throw a 1-2 punch combination, and immediately after he'll throw the head kick. So very good at disguising it and not letting his opponent see it coming and react to it. Great cardio TJ Dillashaw has. He trains in Colorado, so he's always training in the higher altitude. He was a Division I wrestler as well at Fullerton State College. So he's got that wrestling background. Very one of the personally, a lot of people have agreed with this, is that wrestling is one of the best backgrounds to come in to MMA, because you're used to the very tough competitive wrestling regimen. It's very competitive. It's very physical, demanding. You need the stamina to do all these things, so it's a great background to have. Dominick Cruz is also a great wrestler. Moving on to Dominick Cruz and his skill set, he is a good wrestler as well. He's maybe not as powerful or as strong as TJ Dillashaw in that aspect, but he's very technical with his takedowns. He gets many takedowns throughout the fight. It'll be interesting to see how many he gets against Cruz or against Dillashaw, who's a good wrestler himself. Now, Dominick Cruz, very unorthodox. Very unorthodox. And the reason why is because he uses a crouching method to evade punches and strikes. And also, this crouching method helps him set up strikes of his own. Now, Cruz had publicly admitted in the past that he was copying certain parts and aspects of Muhammad Ali's style to a certain degree. And that stance, that crouching stance specifically, is something that Ali used, that Dominick Cruz took from him. Now, this crouching stance is rarely seen. What Ali did and what Dominick Cruz does is they bend their upper body in a crouching position. Now, this crouching stance gives the fighter a multi-directional mobility, and that basically gives the fighter more options to exit out quickly from being attacked. And when they do that, they crouch, bend over, and they push off their back leg, and that gives them the multi-directional mobility, like I said before, which it'll let them go cut sharp right or cut sharp to the left, or fade backwards, push away to the back on any different angle, and just to evade wherever he needs to. It's just, like I said, multi-directional mobility. So you get the full mobility, and that's maybe why he's so evasive, and that's why Muhammad Ali was so evasive. So, you know, if you don't believe this crouching thing works, check a YouTube video, and there's proof. It's very evasive style, but it demands a lot of cardio to sustain that movement through a 5-round fight. Now, Cruz, like I said, he also has great cardio. His kicks are very good as well. Just like T.J. Dillashaw, he's good at disguising his kicks He'll start with the crouch stance. He'll use pivots, set up his kicks and his offense. Um, Now, Cruz, his main asset by far is his footwork. He basically has a series of also patterns that he uses in his footwork, different patterns that set up his thing. It's not always the same pattern. It's more than just switching his stance. He's a perpetual mover in there. He basically, um, he's so unpredictable with his movement and his footwork. He's got these different type of pivots, and he's constantly moving, and it's very hard to get a read on him. Even more unpredictable and more movement, I should say, than a TJ Dillashaw, who does move quite a bit as well. Okay, now going on to the next part, resumes. TJ Dillashaw, 13-2. His two losses came to Rafael Assunção in 2013, a split decision. Could have went either way, but Assunção got the nod. And his first loss was to John Dodson, who is now a flyweight. He got TKO'd by Dodson in the first round earlier on in his career. Now, his TJ Dillashaw's two significant wins are against the same opponent, Renan Barão. That was the first elite top-level opponent that TJ Dillashaw had faced in his career, and he was by far the underdog. Barão hadn't lost in 10 years. He was the interim champion while Dominick Cruz was out with injury. So Dillashaw comes in and beats Barão in spectacular fashion both times. But that is the only significant win on his career. He's got two of them, but it's the same guy, Renan Barão. Now, Dominick Cruz, 20 wins, 1 loss. Significant wins. Ian McCall, Joseph Benavidez twice, Brian Bowles, and Scott Jorgensen, which was in the WEC. Uriah Faber and Demetrius Johnson in the UFC, and also his last fight against Mitsugaki. So that would be 7 significant fighters that Dominick Cruz has beat. So definitely a better resume when it comes to beating elite fighters, which he has done. And his one loss is to Uriah Faber, which was his first pro fight. Uriah Faber, it was a first round submission. Now both fighters, their championship records for title fights, Dillashaw is 3-0 in title fights, and Cruz is 5-0 in title fights. Now moving on to the last section of this video is the breakdown, my prediction. Now, I just want to say both these fighters have a lot of movement in the octagon, great footwork, they're both quick fighters. This is going to be a very, very exciting fight. It's one of the biggest fights in the lower weight classes division in the history of the UFC, especially the 135. It's the biggest fight in the UFC's history for the bantamweight. Now, it's interesting because Cruz has fought, obviously, the more tougher opponents, like I was just saying, but he has only fought once in the last 4 years. Now, Dillashaw has been very active lately, although only beating one top-notch opponent twice. Dillashaw has the more power compared to Cruz. In this fight, you definitely have to give the power to Dillashaw. But at the same time, Cruz has never faced a guy that's moved like Dillashaw, but Dillashaw has never faced a guy like Cruz either. And I would say that I would have to give the edge to Dominick Cruz for the simple fact that he's fought the better opponents. He's seen more, he's done more experience. Although he's been out for so long, that might play a factor. And I could understand why someone would pick Dillashaw in this fight. He's been the more active fighter lately, but he just hasn't faced enough. He hasn't been tested enough for me to realize or think that Cruz would lose this, even though he's been out, like I said. The reason is because Dillashaw, his only significant win is against Renan Barão, who is a stationary fighter, a flat-footed fighter, the opposite of Dominick Cruz. And those are Dillashaw's two biggest wins against a flat-footed fighter. So we don't know how Dillashaw is going to react to Dominick Cruz movement. So that's why I gotta go with Dominick Cruz, unanimous decision, 5-round, unanimous decision. That's my prediction. If you agree with the prediction, like the video. If you like the video, subscribe. If you disagree with what I have to say or have to add anything, you want to just talk, speak your opinion, comment in the section below.